topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome everybody to my show, Learning to Dance in the Rain. I'm Shelby Wagner, and I am the host of the show, and I bring you topics of life issues with the idea of learning resilience and coping with our problems, and so we can move on and get back to enjoying life. And that's what I hope that you're doing, is enjoying life. Today's guest is me. Again, I want to remind you that life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And what I'm going to be talking about today is fraud. Will this stuff ever end? I would invite you to join me today if you have would like to share anything about an event in which you were scammed. Scammed and fraud, they both mean the same thing. They are all cons, or we get swindled out of our money. Whatever. But the number for reaching here is 561-623-9429. And I'd like to hear from you as we go along, if you are so inclined to join me. So let's talk about, I'm going to talk about some high profile frauds, some current ones that I just learned about today, and some that I'm more familiar with. But some of the key questions I want to talk about is, why does fraud keep happening? And how does it affect our society? How does it affect us, the victims of fraud? And I believe everybody has been swindled or conned or lost some money that they might have avoided had they known what it was really about when they started. And the question, can we ever eliminate it? So let's talk, what is fraud? Well, I have two definitions here, or maybe more. The intentional deception for financial or personal gain. So anytime a group of people or another person knowingly suggests something to us that they know is not legal or not right, and they entrap us into their concept and get us to invest our money, and we, that is lost. This is not talking about brokers, financial planners. No. If we talk to them, they'll tell us when there is a fraud. At least if they're honest financial planners, they will. And I'm sure I had people at the bank tell me that, Shelby, that's, I think that's a scam. And I refuse to believe them. And we're going to talk about why, about that in a few minutes. When we get to the why does it keep happening? How does it affect the people that have been scammed? And how does it affect the people on the other side? So the other one definition is that it involves false representation. In other words, lies. It involves concealment. You're hiding some of the facts from the person. And it involves a breach of trust. Oh boy. The funny thing is that on the romance scammers, they work on obtaining the trust of whomever they're talking with, because they'll get you to trust them. And then maybe you think that you're engaged to that person. You're going to marry them. They love you. You love them. And so they then start requesting money. The problem is they're not real. And we'll talk about that. The common types of fraud are financial fraud, like Ponzi schemes back in the end of the 1900s, 99 to 2000, somewhere in that area, was a man named Ponzi. And there were others that have their own schemes in which they convinced people to invest in their idea or invest in something that they thought maybe was going to make a lot of money. And actually, it didn't go into any investment. I think it went into their personal accounts. So there was really nothing in that they were investing in. That was a Ponzi scheme, promising high returns with no real investment involved. Insider trading, using confidential information to manipulate the stocks. And then there's embezzlement. That's all under financial fraud. There's corporate fraud, where accounting fraud and manipulating the financial reports to hide losses or initiate or inflate their earnings. There's bribery and corruption within businesses, corporate fraud. And then there's the cyber fraud, phishing scams. These are fraudulent emails or messages that steal sensitive data from you. And then they are able to steal your money out of your bank account. You thought something else was going on. There's identity theft, stealing information for financial gain. And deep fake scams is becoming very alive as AI generated voices and videos that are used to deceive. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that one in a minute. So the impact of fraud, of course, is that individuals lose money and their reputations and the trust of other people, your friends, your family. I didn't want to tell my family or anybody that I knew, that I didn't want them to know that I had fallen prey to a romance scammer and given away a good deal of money that I couldn't have afforded to lose, but I did lose it anyway. I thought maybe I was helping somebody. I was helping him. He was stuck in China and couldn't get out and couldn't get back home. But funny, I noticed his same profile on another dating site about a year later. Same profile, same everything. Boy, I tell you, they don't give up very easily. Businesses, impact on businesses. Well, are you seeing all of these companies, these businesses that are closing? Golly, are we going to have any businesses left once this is all over? I don't know. And I don't know if it's going to be over. It's just seems like that all of the economies are destabilized by large scale fraud schemes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are being done to help solve this problem. The Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme. He stole billions of dollars from investors with fake returns, making them think they were making a lot of money. And they weren't. He was making a lot of money, but they weren't. He was stealing their money. There was an impact on individuals and charities that trusted him. I know from fact how it feels to have lost a lot of money to someone that was deceiving me when I thought that he loved me. I thought maybe there was a chance of a relationship there, and it wasn't. But these are all down in the recent cyber scams. The cryptocurrency fraud, which is now called pig butchering. I talked about that in another one of my episodes a few months ago. Pig butchering, that's where it started out as a romance scam. Someone I met on LinkedIn.com got talking to me about his business and so on, and then convinced me to invest in a cryptocurrency company. And it was a name that was kind of familiar, but it was kind of all mixed up. I was the FTX. Someone else had recommended the FTX, and this guy recommended FXT. And being as unfamiliar with the whole uh, institute of cybercurrency, of Bitcoin, and all of that, well, I lost a lot of money there also. But I have been reading just today. There's a lady on LinkedIn who is now started the Operation Shamrock. She was a deputy prosecutor in Santa Clara County, California, Aaron West. And she got interested, found of all these victims and how they were felt about this losing this money. And she had, I think I showed pictures and so on of the compound she had visited in Miramar, down in the Southeast Asian border, and found that a lot of the scammers were indeed people that had been kidnapped, and they were imprisoned in these huge apartment-like buildings and beaten if they would not cooperate, and try to convince people like me to give them our money. And so she had an article this morning I saw in LinkedIn that I was reading, and I would like to read that to you because things have been changing a little bit. Because while we have focused on the scam compounds on the Thailand-Myanmar border, transnational organized crime is in charge of it, has been methodically building a criminal state in Cambodia in plain sight and on the same blocks as police stations. Ride with me as I take you on my 1,000-mile tour through Cambodia, from capital city to the Vietnam border, the southern coast, and out to the Thailand border. As soon as I got off the plane, I got in the car with Lindsay Kennedy and Nathan Paul Southern and drove straight to, pardon my pronunciation, but Sihanoukville. I've been teaching about it for 3 years, and last week I was able to see it for myself, said Aaron West. It was horrifying. We all understand Las Vegas with all the hotels and casinos on a major scale. But picture this, if you will, a town just like that. But instead of hotels that are filled with tourists, they are filled with victims trafficked in from all over the world and forced to commit these crimes of pig butchering or cryptocurrency scams and other scams. And that place, that town, is called Sihanoukville, Cambodia, one of the origin cities of this scam-demic. I knew it would be big. I'd seen the pictures, but I wasn't prepared for the literal city blocks with no entrance or exit except through heavily armed, guarded gates. Laundry hanging from windows made it clear to me that these buildings were fully occupied. Spotters across the street and cell towers on the roof, bars on the windows. There was no mistaking the sinister nature of this scam city. We have all been sleeping while the enemy has been on duty, working 24/7. Later focused on their mission, or laser focused on their mission, to cripple the United States and the European economy. Wow, that's what they're trying to do. Over the next week, this coming week, she is going to describe what she saw in her 10-day research trip through Southeast Asia. And I tell you, if you want to see what she, or read more from her, she's on LinkedIn.com, and her name is Erin, Erin West. She says, over the next week, I will describe what I have seen on my 10-day research trip through Southeast Asia. And if it doesn't scare the H out of you, you're not paying attention. I'm going to lay out the problem, and then I will tell you how we fix it. And she had a map here of Southeast Asia. And let's see if I can tell you. I can pronounce these names, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas, especially where they are building these Las Vegas style cities for the people they kidnap and force to do their dirty work, force to call us and make us feel that we are loved, and they try to earn our trust. And then all of a sudden something happens, and they need money. And so they want us to send our money to them. I was noticing, let's see, are some other articles from Frank on fraud. .com, I believe is his name. Pig butchering operations moved to hotels in India as the scam virus spreads globally. From luxury hotel rooms in Pune to sophisticated courier networks, Cambodia-based cyber syndicates orchestrate elaborate pig butchering operations across India. These shadow networks employ everyone from small-time snack vendors to aspiring Bollywood models, and show how pig butchering operations are spreading like a virus to countries worldwide. And who are the victims that they're scheduling after? The money is the United States and England. British, never mind. There was one here, let's see, several here that Frank had brought up. A Hyundai dealership was shocked when they found 239 cars in a storage lot that used to carry only 10 cars. They soon discovered that their director of used cars was operating a kickback scheme to buy cars online for inflated prices from people he worked with and then split the proceeds. It took the dealership months to sell those cars, eventually resulting in $2 million in losses. Ooh, wow. We can't even trust our own people here in America, can we? Goodness. Here was one he wrote. Gamer to fraudster. A 16-year-old kid got cheated when he was online playing Halo. Little did he know that event would lead him down a twisted path into a career in online cyber crime. 16-year-old kid, I read somewhere that the youngest person who has been defrauded of money online was an 8-year-old child. Well, how about the oldest? I know of at least one person who was now approaching way over 80 her way, and she was a victim also of the cybercrime. A year ago, there was a big article about this woman. Let's see, what did I do with that one? Yeah, here we go. A woman who had died. Her body had been found in a river down by Cairo, Illinois, I believe it was. And she had lost $2 million, it said, and they didn't know if it was all the details. But her daughter was starting to search about this and find out what was going on. Yes, here we go. I'm going to back up a little bit. This was 3 Chicago area residents involved in moving more than $3.5 million for an overseas-based romance scam network were sentenced in recent weeks, including a former U.S. Postal Service employee who told CBS News she regretted getting sucked into this quote-unquote dumb-ass scheme by her then boyfriend. Jennifer Gosha was a former U.S. Post Office employee and an Iraqi War veteran, and she was sentenced to 3 years probation with first 6 months on house arrest with limited movement for her involvement in the fraud case out of Chicago. And one of the victims was this to the scams facilitated by these 3 defendants was 57-year-old Laura Cowell. For over a year, CBS News investigated the disappearance and death of Cowell, a widow and retired healthcare executive from Galena, Illinois. Cowell became involved in a romance scam with a man she met through Match.com who called himself Frank Borg. What started as an online and telephone romance migrated into increasingly desperate requests for money. At first, Cowell sent money willingly, and later it appeared that she had been coerced. Over the course of almost 2 years, Cowell sent nearly $2 million to Frank, her financial records show. But Frank was not a real person. It was a group of scammers based out of West Africa, according to law enforcement. The scammers used stolen photos and profiles were all fraudulent. The case typified an increasingly common facet of these online romance scams, the use of so-called money mules to disguise and launder financial transactions. The CBS News investigation found that one of Cowell's initial payments for $75,000 made at Frank's request was actually received by 3 people living in the Chicago suburbs, including someone named Gosha, according to law enforcement records. The other 2 conspirators, both Nigerian nationals, Samuel Anekwa and Anthony Abeki, were sentenced in November. The criminal complaints against the 3 say undercover agents made secret recordings that show their involvement in romance fraud and a range of other schemes. Investigators allege that the trio scams resulted in at least $750,000 in losses for victims. What does a victim do when they get losses like that? I couldn't even think. I would have never had $750,000 in my whole life. I don't think. Anyway, Anaqua pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering in July of 2023, and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors as part of his plea deal. He received a 10-year prison sentence. Ibeki pleaded not guilty to the 14 counts against him, which included wire fraud and forgery. He went on trial last September and was found guilty on all 14 counts, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Oh, thank goodness. Finally, some of these people are being caught and sentenced. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. CBS News spoke to a juror on Ibecky's trial who told us the most moving aspect of the case against Ibecky were the victim's statements. 4 witnesses testified about the pain and loss they suffered through Ibecky's scams, including a retired dentist in his 70s who suffered from early onset dementia. He cried a little on the stand, said the juror, who used to remain anonymous, asked to remain anonymous about Ibecki. But it seemed more about the overwhelming amount of evidence that they had against the man that convinced the jury that he was guilty. Kelly Gow, Laura Cowell's daughter, gave a victim impact statement at both Ibecki and Anaqua's sentencing, sharing words about her late mother in an interview with CBS News last year. She told us she has so much anger against the criminals who led her mother to her death. I look at my life now, and my mom, and my mom is missing out on all of that, said Gao in an interview last year. They took so much away from me. They took everything away from her. My family will never get the time back. In an interview with CBS last year, Gosha explained she had been dating Becky, whom she thought was a Nigerian doctor. Gosha said she was also a victim of the romance scam and became a money mule herself. In sentencing Gosha, Judge Stephen Seeger recognized the seriousness of the crime and the terrible damage inflicted upon the victims, but he also recognized the great disparity in Gosha's relative culpability, said Patrick Boyle, Gosha's attorney, in a statement to the CBS News. You know what is, it hurts that I lost all that money. It hurts that I'm still paying back what one of the scammers charged on my credit cards because I gave him the information of them. So I'm guilty myself. There were others that tried to convince me to open bank accounts for them in the USA. They claimed that they were working out of the country in foreign countries, and they were having trouble getting their money. So they wanted me. I don't know exactly how they were going to get money in that bank account, and then I was going to have to send it back to them. But I was not about to do that because I figured somewhere in there it was going to be all on me, and they would claim that I had done this all on my own, and I was not going to get involved in that, which I feel, okay, at least I was smart enough to recognize that. But as all victims feel about falling for these scams is, how could we have been so stupid? How could I have done that? When I go back and I read some of those letters that I received from scammers, and I thought, even at the time I received some of them, I thought, boy, this is ridiculous. But I didn't stop. And that's one of the points I want to make today is why are people so culpable and fall for these scams? Well, in the first stance, the man was physically hurt. He was out of the country and needed to get back to the United States and needed some money to do that. To me, that was a kind of a humanitarian thing, and he knew that because he got to know me, and he knew my weak spot, and that was it. So that was that one. But then, what about the next one? The next one was I had lost $10,000 in the first one, and in the next one, it was an investment thing. And I thought, well, maybe I can earn back that $10,000 I had lost. So what is it? Hope. Um, they say greed. Well, it's definitely greed on the side of the ones that are um, causing the problem. They're the ones getting our money, and they're greedy and they want to do it dishonestly rather than working for a living like most of us to earn the money that we have, and then whatever. But it is a hope. It, it's a lot of us hope that that person that's promising love and romance to us, a loving relationship when we're lonely, we hope they are the one. We hope we want love, we want attention, and they give it to us. And wow, we fall because that's what we want. We want to be loved. We want, maybe in the second case, it was I really needed to have help making more money. I was retired. Yeah, I had pension, Social Security, but I had lost this money and I had hoped to gain it back. So I put my hope in the wrong person. And I think that's one of the things we need to remember, that people say, well, gee, I can't believe someone could fall for a romance scam. Or I don't believe that they could fall for an investment scam. Well, how come so many people are? I mean, in 2020, uh, well, when I wrote my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, exposing and raising awareness, hopefully, of the scams that were going on, the FTC had reported $145 million was lost by 15,000 Americans that year. Well, I was one of them, but they figured it was a whole lot more than that had lost it, because people are embarrassed. Oh, I made a mistake. Who wants to admit that you made a mistake, especially if you've lost money, or you thought you were in love and now you're not anymore. That was just a fake. And, that hurts. And you're going to grieve the loss of a relationship that you thought you had. So grief is in there. Yeah. Where is that dream? Sometimes I wake up and I thought, oh, gee, that would have been so nice. And then I remember Shelby. Hey, he was fake. He was filling you filled with lies. It wasn't true. There was nothing a bit true about it. But I felt sad anyway, and had hoped that I would make some money and that extra money, and I would be able to pay down my debts, pay back what I owe for my car and my house. I had to mortgage my house to pay for some of that dream that I had and hope that I had of earning money. So the loss, well, that's why does it keep happening? Because people are greedy. Well, I would say anybody that is in like a banker, or anybody that has control over a financial situation, and they can make the books look like they made more money than they did, or they can hide some things, or lose some things, or transfer some money over to a different account. they have a responsibility to their employees and to their clients to do the right thing, not to put the money in their pockets or hide it somewhere else where they can use it. And that, I think I was reading about with the Ponzi scheme and the Enron back in the early 60s. There was a big thing about Enron scam fraud, and they came up with the legislation and reforms like the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and I looked that up to see that was a major thing because they created standards for accountants and other financial reporting people that they needed to be accurate in their reporting. There was accountability in that. So it was a complete overhaul of corporate stations for accountability. Where is that money going? Where did it come from? And so on. And then that happened in the early, 2000s? And here it is 25 years later. And look at all this stuff that's going on now. Oh my goodness. And then the AI, you add that in there. We don't know what to believe anymore, do we? Here is another report from I got this morning from Fox News. It was actually in February this year. Montcalm County, Michigan. Michigan's where I live. The deputies are warning Montcalm County residents of a scam making the rounds that involves scammers arriving at victims' homes. The Montcalm County Sheriff's Office says a scammer calls victims while claiming to be a bank representative. Victims are told fraud was detected in their accounts and instructed them to open a new account on a website to help them catch the so-called suspect. Victims are then reportedly told to stick their credit cards in envelopes and insert them in their mailboxes with flags raised so their chips may be scanned. The deputies say the cards are then stolen and they are used shortly thereafter. The website logins also lead to money being drained from the victims' bank accounts. The fact that the suspects went to the homes of the victims is of extreme concern, the police officer says. The investigation is in its early stages, so no additional information was available at this time. Deputies wish to remind the public not to give away personal information or follow instructions that you didn't begin the phone call with. They urge everyone to warn older family members so they don't become victims of scams like this. And so that's what I have been preaching since I wrote my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, in 2018. Do not send money to people you don't know. And then in my book on scams, I wrote descriptions of 150 different scams, frauds that are out there that people are going to try to get money from you on the telephone, on the internet, even walking up to you on the sidewalk outside. So, oh, hello there, please, you do not know whether the stranger is telling the truth or not. And I sometimes wonder if I would know if a friend was lying to me or not. We just have to be very, very careful. So how do we fight fraud? It says by strengthening the laws and regulations, we have to have stricter penalties for fraudsters. 10 years for that one man that I read earlier today, 20 for that second guy. You have to also have better oversight for financial institutions in auditing their books, making sure that they are correct. Every business probably needs someone who is trustworthy, someone who can audit the books and find out if someone else is doing something illegal. Raising public awareness and education. Our schools need to have someone there to teach fraud prevention skills. And if you're listening to me and you live in my Sturgis, Michigan area, I would be happy to come to your school and teach the teachers what I know about being defrauded of your money. And if you think the kids are not involved in becoming victims, then you really need to hear what I have to say. Please, well, I don't know how many of the students who have committed suicide were victims of fraud, but I know that a lot of them were, because if they are they are on the internet with their phones talking to people, and it's very, very easy to slip into a relationship with someone you don't know that pretends to be very caring about you, and then they turn on you, and what they learn your secrets. Maybe they have convinced you to take your clothes off in front of them. You think, nobody else is going to see it. But I tell you, once a picture is put on the internet, you don't know where it's going. You don't know how long it'll be before everybody's going to see it. So keep your clothes on. Don't do that. Don't pretend that you're doing things that you really don't want to do, because it's going to come back and they're going to want money for it. If you don't pay them, they're going to expose you on your school. And teachers, you really need to be educated in this problem, and you need to pass the word on. And I would be very happy to come and talk to your schools if you're local about this problem. Government and financial institutions, you need to help educate your consumers. I see at the post office, for example, they have brochures on the counter about fraud and about scams, and I wonder how many people pick those up. I hope that even if a flash of it will remind them. But I tell you, I get hundreds of emails every day, and I go through them, and they look interesting, right? And if I'm not consciously thinking about this problem of scams, sometimes I have just automatically clicked on something, and then I thought, oh geez, I shouldn't have done that. Same with the phone. The phone rings almost constantly. I have to turn it off during my broadcast because it would ring almost constantly during the time I'm here. And my phone, it'll say probably a scam or whatever. So my daughter has told me for years, don't answer the phone, Mom, if you don't recognize the number. And so that's what I do not do. If they really, really are conscious and leave a message, then I can call them back. But most of them, 90%, 95% of them, do not leave messages. And you know what? Some of them will say, it says they leave a message, and I listen and there's nothing there. It just goes click all the way across and doesn't say it. So they are after me for exposing and doing what I do, I guess, here when I talk about scams. And I'm sorry that I have to be talking about this. This is not a pleasant subject, but it's kind of hard to learn. What are we doing? Learning to dance in the rain. We're learning about this problem so we can enjoy life in the future instead of spending our money without any benefits for us at all. So we need to inform the kids at school, in the workplaces, the same. I'd be glad to come and talk with them about this problem also. The government and financial institutions have got to inform and educate their their consumers, and social media platforms must take responsibility for reducing scam ads. And like Facebook, they wanted me to take down my website because I had advertising my book about scams to help people know that what scams are. And yet, I don't know, can't tell you the number of times that when I've opened my Facebook page and they have these pictures and the ones next to me are pornographic. Now, how can that stay up there on Facebook and my book advertise or this that educates about scams gets kicked off? Facebook had better come up. If they're not going to come up to their own standards, then they better just shut it down, because it is not doing what it claims and wants to do. Also, ethical business practices and whistleblower protections. Companies should have internal anti-fraud policies and encourage their employees to report the suspicious activities without a fear of being harassed afterwards or arrested or whatever. Personal cybersecurity measures. Avoid sharing sensitive information about yourself. What on earth is that? That's sometimes, and especially on dating sites, it's don't tell your last name. Don't give out your personal information until you have talked to that person for a while and really know what hey. And in my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, I give 38 red flags that give you an idea that, hey, you better be careful what you say once you read these on your letters or you hear the person say that. Anyway, wow, I see my time is over, almost over. Three minutes to go. I want you to go to Amazon.com. I have my new book, Finding Love Again, a senior's guide to internet dating, because I do believe in internet dating. And I have put my strategies for success there, and I hope you'll go and see that. And next week, I hope that you will be back again. And we will talk some more about learning to dance in the rain. Remember, it's not about waiting for the storm to pass, but it's learning to dance in the rain. And that's what we have to do in spite of the darn scams and all the other bad things that happen to us. I'm going to say bye now and take care. And we'll see you next week, 12 o'clock on Tuesday, Eastern Standard.